I did kind of take a year's break after Reborn came out.
Oh, do you not like Reborn as much?
It's not as good. It will never be old game. Old game looked so much better.
What was good about the old one that's not in this game?
The dungeons. The dungeons were way more interactive than they are now. Instead of just go here, kill a thing, some of them had proper mechanics with the buildings moving and everything.
Really?
Yeah, one of them.
Okay? So I've kind of heard from different people about different aspects of the game that this seems lazier than the original. Like what? Like for the cosmetics, for example, or like the look of the armor and stuff. Like apparently they said that it used to be a lot better, and now they just slap on weird.
I have to agree, but in that sense, a lot of the older assets that were not from raids were from asset packs.
Oh, so they weren't even, the developers didn't even make them?
A lot of them, no.
Oh my god.
So,
Oof.
all of the stuff that you see nowadays are developer-made assets.
Oh, so they're just, it's basically not that they're, but it is that they're less lazy, but it's also that they have less skill than the people who made the asset packs originally.
Well, nobody in the dev team is really an artist. They're just, an artist is good enough for the art style.
Right.
But in old game, you actually had pseudo 3D grass everywhere, littering the plains.
Wait, what do you mean? Graphs for what?
You know how this is all grass texture and there's
Oh,
like a couple of sprites?
I thought you said graphs, like a bar graph or
No.
something. Okay,
No,
yeah.
not nickel stats.
Wait.
Grass? There was actual like grass that stuck out of the ground everywhere, not just in little shitty little bushes.
Right. I wonder why they don't have that anymore. I don't know.
Because it's mainly to run on the quest. Because Reborn exists because Oculus sponsored the developers to make a quest version, and they didn't want to. They didn't want to have two versions up at the same time for Quest and PC, so they just went bump and mashed them together.
So the graphics could be better, is what you're telling me.
The graphics were better.
The only reason the graphics are is like they are now is because of Oculus.
Because of the Quest. Because the Quest 1 specifically. And the Quest 1 was a potato.
Oh, come on, bro. What the?
I don't know.
It is tough for a game like this, because this is an MMO. You can't divide your player base. Right?
Even still, according to Steam charts, this game has 10 people!
Wait. That doesn't make any sense. Even the shard we're in has more than that, right?
That's exactly the point. Can you guess where all of those other hundreds of people are coming from?
Oculus, right.
Correct! Which isn't tracked by Steam charts.
Huh.
Which means 90% of the player base is on Quest.
Damn.
Yep.
It an actual situation
Really
where
do be like that.
like Quest is what brought VR into the mainstream, but it's also cucking all the rest of the the people playing games.
Yeah.
Oh man. And it's, let's be real.
Forcing people to create software for inferior hardware.
Jesus. And let's be real too. Like 90% of those Quest users are like 6-year-olds. So it's not even like they're valuable.
I've seen so many tiny children.
Most of them are swearing as well. That's weird.
It's less. Oh, I had one. There was one kid that was swearing like a sailor and got into an insulting match with this 50-year-old dude.
An insulting match with an old man. Oh my god.
Yeah. Like every single other word was some kind of slur or swear. It was incredible.
How's the late game for this game? Is it really good?
The late game is the main game. Until you get level 30, you're in the tutorial.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yo, cast a spell, dog. Okay, well, I can't. Slacky, what's going on, dude? What's this game about? This is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
What are you doing?
Spinning.
I see.
It's about, I don't know, it's kind of like World of Warcraft, you know? But in this game, it's in VR.
A spell has been requested.
My favorite spell. You ready?
Yeah. Firework.
Shh. Here's a spell.
Look up.
No, come on, dude. How do you even... What?
I don't know. Sometimes it happens.
Oh, you don't have to draw the little line in the middle.
Correct. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, depending.
I've been thinking about getting it. Well, think no longer, Slackies, because you can actually play this for free. It's there's a demo version where you can play up to level 10 for free. And then if you like it after that, you just buy it. It's like $10, I think. That's what I did. I got the free trial.
It interrupts them.
Do you think... I really feel like the game, like, you shouldn't be able to cast as fast as you can. There should be a cooldown.
It used to be that you couldn't, because of the server tick rates. Back in the old game, that's the one thing I didn't like about it. You had to, if the server was lagging, you could not cast spells.
Yeah, but like, you know how in MMOs usually there's like a cooldown for your abilities?
Why would you want to limit skill?
Well, that's the thing is...
It is your unadulterated skill.
Because of balance. Balance is more important than people, like, than one class having fun.
Well, okay, it is balanced, because...
Yeah,
yes,
come on.
Rune Mage is the best class in the game. However, Ranger can do just as much. It's really annoying to pull off.
Is that also based on how fast someone can pull their bow?
No. You can do almost as much DPS as a Rune Mage doing this.
You know why that is because they're trying to let other classes catch up to the Rune Mage. What they should do is have a standard, right? If you have, let's say you can do Firebolt one cast per second, all right? Maybe even two, whatever. You set the damage based on that so that everybody is more like standardized.
Well, they actually nerfed this ability because of that.
What do you mean they nerfed it?
Nothing happened. They nerfed this ability. It used to be every single of the extra fireballs had the full damage of a fireball. Now, every single fireball past the first 2 volleys deals half damage, going half and half and half and half.
But that's
It
fine.
would basically mean nothing.
Because, okay, as cool as it is to be able to, like, oh, look, I've played this game for 5,000 hours and I can shoot 1,000,000 fireballs a second. That's cool and all.
It should reward skill.
But it should be...
not...
But, alright, do you not think that the ability to cause extra damage when you use 3 different methods of spells, do you not think that is skillful? Exactly.
I just did it.
That takes skill. Just as much skill is firing off 1,000 bolts a second.
I can agree with you on certain parts that yes, casting 3 a second is cool, but it's boring. I fully agree. I have only learned how to cast 3 a second because I have no other choice.
But yeah, I mean that's also, you know, that's...
Before I could cast 3 a second, I'm a rotation mage all day.
Right. But imagine.
But sometimes, if you have multiple rotation mages, they clash because you're overwriting each other's afflictions.
Well,
And
that's
most of your DPS. And where most of it comes from, like 15k DPS comes from just afflictions.
Well, that's up to your team to coordinate at that point. But I'm just saying, like, as far as a gameplay perspective, a balanced gameplay experience, the mage should have limitations. It should be because like me, someone who's been a mage for 10 hours versus someone who's been a mage for 100 hours, like he could start a new character, level 1, just like me, and completely destroy me, right? Which that kind of doesn't go with the.
So can scoundrels.
But that's the point. If you're gonna make it balanced, classes need limitations.
Scoundrel. Using curve shots is not an easy feat. I practice it on my spare time, but that's not an easy thing to pull off consistently getting rank 5s.
No.
I can do it sometimes.
But even if the restriction was, if the cooldown was 1 spell per second, that's still not easy.
Back in old game, the best talent was to use True Affliction, because everyone was bad, and if the server was lagging, you couldn't cast spells. So everyone used True Affliction.
You don't see a problem with that?
Which was now all of your spells are DOTs, which actively limits your ability.
Well, I don't think I understand the argument you're making here.
So look at your talents. Look at the level 20 talents. True Affliction. Frost,
yep.
Fireball, and your Frost and Fireball spells now get a DOT effect. Your Arcane Explosion now spreads dots. Back then, this was the optimal rotation. And you just did that over and over again.
Okay, and you're saying that it's better now, why?
I'm not saying that it's better now. I'm saying there is a precedent for what you're saying.
Well, the thing about it is that was a limitation set by the server technology. What I'm saying is if you have an actual cooldown that is consistent, let's say if it's a 1 second cooldown, you know exactly when it's going to go off of cooldown. You're not trying to dance around server problems. You have
that feel. So artificially limiting someone like that doesn't feel good to play. It's good for balance, but not for game feel.
Well, then you end up with an unplayable.
You want to be rewarded for being good, because if you were just allowed to do this, you're just sitting here for a second, every second, and you just draw, and then you may as well be playing a ranger.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is every class has differences, but they're all that not one should be that much better than the other. So if you're like
I know scoundrels that do double my damage.
But that means, listen, if they were to do that to the mages, they'd have to rebalance everything, right? Because right now the damages of everything is based off of how good people are as a mage. Yeah, the devs are lazy. I'm not saying that. I'm not commenting on what the devs are doing now. I'm commenting on what they should do to make it better.
A bit of context: when the 4th world boss came out about a week or two ago, it was so packed that the giant was one shot within a second.
Oof.
And a dev was sitting there, so he had to keep raising the health bar to actually be a challenge.
Wait, so he was playtesting it after the release?
He was playtesting it while live, while there were 70 people
god.
I'm saying, because there's no way you can test that in private servers.
I mean, math. You just need some math. How much is the average DPS for a high tier player? You know, multiply that by 70 players, and there's your health, generally speaking. You just had a brain freeze.
Sorry, the game crashed back. Even still, the game should be difficult for the people who want it.
Right.
Because yeah, sure, I have some lazy days where I go onto my rangers like the arrow. Meh. Here, have a piercing. I can do that happily.
Yeah. But the fact that you
And that's
can,
brains.
the fact that you can do that as a late tier player, is kind of the dev's fault, right? Which is also
To be fair, I do half the damage that I do on my rune mage.
that's also the
But
dev's
even
fault.
still,
All right, let me just paint a picture for you, okay?
no, that's just because
Let
I
me-
don't have tile sets on. I know rangers that do more damage than me. I'm not a ranger that does more damage than me.
Let me just kind of paint a picture of what it would look like if it was different, okay? You start off, you have a few spells at your disposal, right? And then you learn those. As you get a higher level, you're able to use other spells. And these other spells are more complicated.
I really don't like the idea of artificially limiting things.
That is what an MMORPG is. It's an RPG. You can't just do everything. You have to build up to it. That's the whole point. That's why, like, that's how RPGs are supposed to be.
A level 1 cannot walk into a 15 shard and go, hey!
No, which is good. If they could, that'd be really dumb. But a level 1 who, knows all the spells can smack another level 1.
It's based... Okay, so it's based more on... so for example, I am a level 30 plus 6 paladin. I know paladins that are pure level 30 without any extra super gear, and they're better tanks than I am. I've never tanked more than a 7 shard. They've tanked 15s easily.
Yeah, and that's good. That's skill.
That's skill.
Right. Now, do you think
So
it's
my
because
good
they
gear does not matter to skill.
Right. No, listen, I'm not saying there should not be a skill gap. I'm saying that the skill gap should not be so wide as it is for mages, and I don't know any other classes, so I can't really.
I like to say that the rune mage has the high...
I'm breaking up again.
Okay. Rune mage has the highest skill floor and the highest skill ceiling.
Right.
But that's not discounting the fact that yes, I could be a better ranger. I could use better tile sets. I could put my special arrows into my rotation. I could actually use my star. There's
Do you
things
think
that
that
I'm
is
ignoring about ranger that would
Right.
improve my damage?
But the thing about Rune Mage is it's not about people ignoring being good. It's that people spend a lot of time in spamming. And I just don't think that being able to spam is what makes a good player. That just makes a sweaty player. I think being able to throw different spells in rotation, being able to use buffs and things based on your abilities, that's good. Like, that's
So
skill.
This isn't...
Yeah, that's skill, but
This
that's
isn't
like
good?
that's just like that should not be something that
Yes,
that you should focus on as as a developer. What do you want your players to do? Do you want them to practice spamming the spells over and over again, or do you want them to be strategic in how they use their
ways of
spells?
playing this game. The two best rune mages in the game play rotation.
Right.
If you want, so I think like the top 4 spots are actually held by rotation mages
Okay.
because.
But
using
how do
the-
most people play the game?
Most people go faster, 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 faster.
Exactly. As a developer, if I were a developer for this game, I would see that and be like, that's not how I want this to be. I want them to use their brains, right? That's how I would
Even
want people
still,
to play.
if you say 1 fireball per second, that's also limiting the rotation players.
It is, yeah. Maybe there's an ability that allows you to cast another spell faster if it's a different type of spell. Like there's ways to
Then why
reward
not?
this.
So, what you're saying right now is here's a reward, have a faster spell cast. At that point, you may as well just have a spell book and I would like to cast Fireball. Click, boom.
Well, no, because you actually have to do the spell.
Then what's the point of the artificial limiter? The limiter is your skill.
The limiter is set so that your DPS does not go haywire compared to other.
Limiting.
Yeah, well, it's the point. You limit things. That's the whole reason you can't just throw 5 hammers in a row as a cleric or whatever. There's limitations.
Actually, you can.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So watch this. I'm gonna charge up 5 orbs.
You're missing the point.
That's 5 interrupt right there.
Okay, so throw that hammer 5 times at once.
You don't need to. You can just.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Rune mages being able to spam 100 spells a second is the equivalent of throwing that hammer 5 times in a row. You don't have to. That's a limitation. You only have 1 hammer to throw, right?
No, you don't need to throw the hammer multiple times in a row because as the hammer floats inside the target, it goes tick 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 tick.
You're missing the point. You're not doing that move 5 times at one time. You're throwing that hammer once, and it is the equivalent of throwing 5 hammers. But because that's a special ability. What I'm saying is you can't just throw that hammer and have 5 hammers go all over the place all haywire. You can't do that. Do you know why you can't do that? Because the developers didn't put it in the game because it's a limitation. You're limited to 1 hammer. Okay? That's the point. Because you have no limitation for Rune Mage doesn't mean there should not be one. If they had put one there, you wouldn't be complaining about it right now because you wouldn't know any better.
However, you're still able to say that it's annoying that I'm not able to get good because I'm not able to cast faster. I can
you can get good.
See where you're coming from.
Just
because
don't let that be the way you get good.
SMH does that. SMH does basically what you're saying. Because that uses it has like 2 little Uzis on your hands that you can shoot for basic damage, or you can hold your grip and swipe in a general direction to cast a spell, which has a cooldown.
Right. That's how WoW does it. You know, like it makes sense.
That is a much more succinct. If you want to use cooldowns, that's much more succinct because there is no skill floor with just moving your hands down. There is with being able to draw a spell.
Look, alright, have you ever played World of Warcraft or any other MMO, like Final Fantasy
you're
or...
still handicapping the new people by not being able to actually draw the spell. If you limit the higher, like, stronger, more time players, then that's also just going to limit the high level experience.
Well, that's the whole point, is to bring both the bottom and the top of the skill gap together.
You want to collapse it into the middle.
That's exactly what that's doing.
And the collapsing in the middle is literally Zenith's Rune Mage, Essence Mage, whatever.
I guess they focus on balance. I don't know what to tell you. That's the way to do it.
It's much more.
Look,
it's
listen.
system, but it works.
Have you played World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 or any MMO like that?
I have played a decent amount of EverQuest.
I don't know much about EverQuest, but I'm assuming they have the same sort of cooldown system, right?
Every MMO does.
Right. So imagine if you had a mid-tier...
That's literally just press a button.
Well, the equivalent of pushing a button here is doing the spell. So yeah, maybe the spell should have a little bit higher on average damage because it's so difficult to do, but that doesn't mean you should be able to throw 1,000 of them out. Imagine if you had a mid to high tier spell in that game where you could just spam the shit out of it instead of having a cooldown. It wouldn't be balanced. That's just the fundamentals of it.
Because you can just press a button and like you can just
right.
set up an auto.
What you're doing right now with your spells is the equivalent of that because it's just as easy for you.
For me.
Yes, for you, because you are part of the people that needs to be brought down,
because I've spent,
so that everybody can be in the same area.
Hundreds of hours practicing and honing a skill that is completely fucking useless. I can do this spell even when I'm not playing the game. I draw it in sand. I draw it in the air. I use it to pass the time.
Look, that
Because
is
it's become my muscle memory.
that
It's
that
like
is the.
when it's like in World of Warcraft when you're a cleric,
However.
you have to learn a rotation. You press that button, and then as you're finishing that button, then the first one comes back onto action.
Right, yeah, rotation, that's fine. Look, I don't think that they should make rotation like the go-to for this class. There should be abilities that say, like, if you do use the same spell a certain amount of times in a row, you get some sort of buff. You know, like, there should be all sorts of different things you can do.
There is.
Well, I'm saying, this is what I'm saying, is that should be a thing. You shouldn't take that away.
That's called Selfish Streak.
Right. That's
Cast 3 spells in a row and get a damage boost.
so what I'm saying is not to take that away. It's to just limit the amount of DPS you can put out while still challenging you to use your brain and cast, certain spells or whatever.
So you're just saying they're OP?
What's that?
Yeah, are you just saying that
Does that not look OP to you?
I mean, it's pretty OP. It helps me in dungeons.
How much damage is that? What's that?
So-
100,000 damage right there in that line?
Not even close. God, no. That's like 40k.
Oh, not even close. It's just about
You're
half.
a bad rune mage.
The point is, like, what? Who? What? Like, how? I don't know. At this point, I don't think I can explain anymore what I mean. This is basically.
I understand the conversation is going in circles, but from my perspective as well, you are perceiving this as the same as pressing a button.
You just did that in 0.02 seconds.
Have you ever tried doing it before? It's pretty hard.
Oh yeah, I've tried. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't take skill. I'm just saying that in a balanced game standpoint, that should not be acceptable.
Like I said, I know scoundrels, I know rangers, hell, I know a shaman that does more damage than I do.
That's not a good argument because all of these people, all these classes are doing this amount of damage because people like you have the amount of damage you're doing. It's all out of whack just because your class is unbalanced.
So,
I'm telling you, if there was a limitation for your
So
class,
you're-
every other class would fall into suit.
Wait a sec. Aren't you the same class?
Yeah, I'm saying this class is unbalanced. I'm still doing it. It's still really cool, but the devs could balance it.
I mean, fair enough.
I'm saying that there are
I
ideas.
want to be a bit crass and say remove, don't improve.
No, not at all. There are things that are not in the game right now that could be in the game to make it better. So I'm saying that if they were to replace or to put a limitation on how fast you can cast these spells, it's basically setting a standard for DPS for our class, and add different methods like the skills that we have right now. Add more that reward different play styles that allow you to explore different methods of what spells to do. Add spells, right? Add more spells of
Honestly,
different things.
Being allowed to cast anything other than Fireball, Affliction, and Frost would be awesome, because there are 5 very important spells and then a couple that are niche uses.
Right.
They have ba, 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 and ba. Those are the 5 most important spells, not in that order.
Right. I mean, if they really wanted to dive in, I don't think
niche
the
uses in this one.
I don't think the devs really want to, but I mean, they could create different classes of mage.
Firework's the best spell,
Yeah, for real.
obviously.
Let's say you want to be a mage, and at level 10 you get to choose which class you want to be of mage, right? You can be fire mage or ice mage, and it comes with its own different auxiliary spells, right? So if you're an ice mage, you get pushback. If you're a fire mage, you get affliction as well or something. And then they add other spells, like spells that adds buffs to people or do
Doesn't
string damage,
that
stuff like that.
also- Doesn't that also take away the skill? Because let's say you're a fire mage. That means you can no longer cast this spell,
Well,
even though I just drew it. So if I drew it, it would fail.
I think what that would do it would add importance to these spells, right? The scarcity would add importance to them. I mean, you look at WoW, people are making tons of characters so they can do all these things for different reasons, you know? Even in this game, the fact that you can do all classes in one character, it makes it less important.
Dude, that's literally how Final Fantasy XIV does it, and that's one of the biggest MMOs in the world.
I mean, maybe so, but I'm just saying, scarcity,
maybe so.
scarcity
It is so.
has importance to games for sure.
So, I see where you're coming from, and if that's the case, this game may not have what you're looking for.
Well, this is the only MMO on the market for VR, so it's like whatever. I'm not saying I'm not
now.
going to stop playing it. I'm just telling you, this is
As
what
of,
I
like,
think would make the
next
game better.
month, then it's
Right, I plan on playing Zenith, and if I like the vibe of Zenith, I probably won't play this again. I like this game; it's cool. It's just not the gameplay, the game decisions, the design decisions. I have issues with, and you know, it's whatever. It's not my game.
Is there any other RPG games on VR?
a lot of the
There's a few. There's no
old design
MMOs.
decisions were back when True Affliction was the best,
Yeah.
and everyone was casting like this. That's why stuff like True Affliction released.
I know that for someone like you is really unappetizing, but you know, if you're gonna make a balanced game, sometimes you gotta sacrifice
Well,
things like that.
Okay. So, what I'm gonna hear is the people who are good will be significantly worse.
No, you will be really consistent.
Overnight.
You'll be incredibly consistent. Because people like me, even if I can't cast a spell, but like once every
yeah, what
turn,
is gonna
I still am
happen
gonna
is
mess
gonna
up my
be-
spells.
But then what's gonna happen is you cast a spell successfully, but your cooldown is 0.1 of a second from being over. So the spell fails.
Okay,
So you have
yeah.
to redraw it again.
What you're explaining to me is that I'm gonna have to learn, like instead of learning how to spam a spell real fast, I'm gonna have to learn my timing. I'm gonna have to learn to be consistent. Because what that tells me, basically, let's say, like, imagine you're a new player, you can only cast one spell per second. That means that if you mess up a spell, that it's more detrimental to your health because you're missing an opportunity. Now, someone like you, who wants like a challenge, your challenge is
I'm just
now.
gonna be-
Your
I'm
challenge
gonna be
now
secure
is going to
casually
be.
doing this.
Your challenge now is going to be quickly casting Fireball 3 every time. Right? So it goes from being spam city to more challenging spells that you have to learn and get down by heart.
Then everyone will suddenly be using Fireball 3.
Well, I mean, if they're good enough, yeah. It's a more challenging spell for a reason.
I also don't know anyone who can actually cast Fire 3 that fast except Beluga.
Well, then there's your training right there. That's your skill gap.
I've only done.
Instead of
Fireball
spamming, your skill gap is being better, like actually being good.
So through your method, and if I were still to cast it faster than the game were to let me, I would be missing out on a lot of time.
Yes, you would have to get the timing down.
I have to draw it, wait, fire.
That's a complaint you're having, but you don't complain about things like having to get the spells perfect in certain situations or missing things because you know that that's a game system. You know it's a thing. There's no point in complaining about it. You'd feel the same way if there was a timer. No point in complaining. It's part of the game.
Well, the perfect spell cast is a reward for casting a spell properly.
And
it's-
well, in a balanced system, it'd be in time as well.
The way I see it, you're discounting time and practice for delays.
What I'm saying, now understand, I'm not discounting the skill it takes to do that. What I'm discounting is that is not acceptable for a balanced game. So I don't care if you can do that.
So you want to, yeah. So we've established that would be good to have.
He just doesn't get it.
Once per second cooldown.
Now that's an arbitrary thing. I'm not saying that's how it needs to be. I'm saying that is a possible limitation you could put to balance things.
I'm saying it's reasonable to say cast once per second at least.
Sure. Hypothetically, sure. Let's go with that.
And that's so there's still some skill in there.
There would be a lot of skill because the devs, along with limiting it, would add a bunch of different options for you to choose to add buffs and debuffs.
What could you do for the new players that would rather play Scoundrel? Because Scoundrel at that point becomes significantly easier than Rune Mage, and even still is.
Well, the damage.
The difficult part about Scoundrel is just that.
It's all based on average DPS. So you set a standard. So that with the Rune Mages,
the average DPS
is
30k.
Well, that's how it is now. Let's base.
Classes.
That's how it is now. It can easily change. Let's base it on our hypothetical Rune Mage situation. Okay. Let's say that with the limitations, someone who's able to nail their shots and just a regular fireball. Let's say that their average DPS is 10k. Now, because of the difficulty of being a Rune Mage, landing your shots correctly, I think the damage would probably have to be a little bit more than the basic shot of a what you call it. What was the gun guy called? I can't remember.
Scoundrel.
Right. So
I don't know what a level 30 does at base.
So it would be safe to assume that being able to do just a fireball consistently the damage would equal a little bit more than the Scoundrel's base regular damage. And when they do their little curve thing, it would be a little bit more damage.
So once per second, a Rune Mage can do less damage than this.
Well, I don't know. I
That's
mean,
infinitely more damage than
if
your new Rune Mage.
If you're gonna be able to spam like that, then the damage would be a lot less. No, if you can do that, then the damage per shot is gonna be a lot less, and it's gonna equal out. It's the dev's job to balance things like that. So it's going to be balanced because you look how fast can I spam this, and how much damage can I do per second. Okay, that is gonna be the standard for a little bit less than the Rune Mage's cast. So it's gonna be balanced. It's easier to do that, so it's a little bit less damage. Rune Mage is harder; they do a little bit more damage. And it's all standardized based on DPS.
You're still calling Rune Mage the best class.
No, it's difficult. You got to reward the challenge. It's the best class if you're good, and it's not even the best. It's just it has.
Rune Mage is the best class right now, yeah. But
no, you understand that I was talking about base damage. This is not including any abilities, any combos that might exist, any different spells, things like that. This is just the base. If the fireball is Rune Mage's regular attack, which I feel like it should be something else because that does a little bit too much damage. I feel like Frost should be
because it does the most damage for the cast time.
Well, that's really fast.
That's
really fast cast. The fact, that's a good point. That's Fire 1, right?
Yeah.
Why is Fire 1 harder to cast than Fire 2? Just switch the symbols. Just switch them. It's easy. The H is harder. Just make that Fire 2.
So it's slightly different. So
look,
I'm actually using shortcuts for both of them. So
of course, but even with a shortcut, the Fire 1 is harder than Fire 2 is a shortcut, right?
Because it requires a 2-stroke.
Exactly.
The more strokes a spell requires, the harder it is.
Now, your understanding of the game is based on how it is now, but imagine if it was different. If you just switched Fire 1 and Fire 2 symbols, it would make more sense. Fire 2 would be harder to cast, take a little longer. Fire 1 would be easier, because you can just do the little whatever methods, right? And that's the thing. Things can change easily to make things more balanced. You don't even really have to add a whole lot, just change things. And it can happen. But the real reason the devs are not doing that is because every 8-year-old who knows how to fast cast a fireball is going to lose their fucking mind, right? That's essentially they don't want to deal with the backlash.
I'm not sure you know what the average age of the high-level scene even is.
I don't know, but I know that a lot of
Most
I
of
see
them are in
kids
their
running around
30s.
doing this shit as well.
I know maybe 3 children that are actually in the high-level scene.
Well, compared
Most
to
of
the
them are in their
player
30s.
base of the game, do you think that the high level scene is what most?
90% of people don't even get the high level.
That's the point. I'm talking about the 90%, the people that play the game, right? They're going to lose their shit because they might not be fast casting like the end tier guys, but they're still fast casting and they're still, you know, they're showing off to their mom that they can freaking look. I can cast this a lot, you know, whatever. The point of what I'm saying
so
is
how is that different from-
the point is the devs don't want to deal with it. That's what my guess is. They don't want to deal with the backlash of changing things.
And
like
you're
that.
right. The game is right now very rocky.
It's imbalanced. That's why Battlegrounds.
It's-
People are always saying Battlegrounds is a shit show because it's just mages
Because it is.
fire casting all over the
That's-
place.
That's a. What do you think the best class is in Battlegrounds?
I mean, probably mage. I don't know. I've never played it. I've heard people complain about how mages just spam cast everywhere.
I need
Only
a
good
truffle hunt.
mages play mage in
I do too.
Battlegrounds. Everyone else?
Yeah. Well, that mean at the same time, if there's one class that dominates any game mode, that means your game's
Or not.
imbalanced.
That's
Even
I
okay.
wonder
still,
if the piglets count. Oh, I thought you said you
Scoundrel gets
I said,
countered
let me get some,
by
let me get some
Paladin.
in. Let me get some in.
Hit it. Sorry. I thought you said okay. I hit
Because
it.
Paladin can survive a one-shot
It's too
from
loud,
a
sorry.
Scoundrel.
So is your argument that Battlegrounds
over
is
here.
balanced?
My argument is that there are ways to counter Scoundrel, other than just playing Scoundrel yourself.
But
Because
is
I know
it
someone who
balanced?
I know someone who plays Musketeer in Battlegrounds, and his team practically never dies
All right, Reed.
because he just
One right there.
shoots a shield orb, and suddenly they're immune to Scoundrels. I'm not saying it's balanced. I'm saying yes. the
Yeah, now he
Scoundrel is
said it.
aggressive, but there are ways to deal with it.
My concern is less about navigating an imbalanced game and more about how to balance it. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to be as in tier as you are, or as many other people are, just because eventually, the closer I get to late game, the more I'm going to see that it's imbalanced and shitty, and I'm going to get frustrated. That's just how it's how it's going to go.
No, dude, I'm totally with you. This game is made with, it's held together with duct tape
Yeah.
and a lot of praying.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to
Yeah,
shit
I'm
on
with
your
you there, but
ability.
this
I
game
get
is
it.
Not
It's just the game,
game
the
is not-
design.
More over here.
well made at all.
Where at?
Right here.
And that's where I'm
It is-
hoping Zenith
A
is
lot of the
coming
stuff
in.
here is basically from the advent of VR.
Yeah. And what we were saying
It came out in
before,
2017.
if the fact of the matter is that this game is how it is because of Oculus, it's just like, bro, that's so shitty.
The mechanics did improve a lot, but the netcode got worse as well as the visuals.
Yeah.
Is it missions or is it?
That's so unlucky. I guess they kind of were faced with the decision of either trying to divide the player base and focus on something good, or just make as much money as possible.
Yeah, and they were saying, yeah, we kind of have to take the sponsorship deal from Oculus
I saw
because
It's crazy,
Oculus wanted-
Facebook just fucks
Oculus
it.
wanted an MMO on their platform.
Of course they did. They want to. I don't know. They can go to any cell phone game and port that to their platform and be done with it.
I need bloody flesh.
Yeah, that's what.
Why do they have to come over here? Like honestly, I like an MMO or a VR MMO is what I wanted, and this is why I've started playing
I
this.
definitely think Zenith is going to be more your speed than this game.
You need
I really hope so.
You want,
Didn't we have to get?
if you want a very clean,
Oh,
a very clean experience,
Oh, right.
My concern
because that's what it
is
looks like. But Zenith, I look at Zenith and I go,
Starting.
that looks boring. Because Zenith, it doesn't give me anything that I can say, yes, I want to practice that, I want to learn how to be good at that. Because that's difficult.
Are you guys doing the event?
But how much do you know about the game?
They're probably not.
I know about all the classes. I've actually played in the beta.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Loading. We died.
And I played a bit around with the Essence Mage, which is oh yeah, Mage. That's awesome, but it's boring because I can just use my dual Uzis and just go. Brrrr. No,
That
Okay.
that kind of bothers me, like the theme of the
and then I
game.
just go. Yes, I would like to cast Lightning Bolt.
Yes,
Move my
so
hands
they were
down.
just adding to the
Boom.
numbers by being in here, so that's good.
Yep.
Right,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, I get you. I do.
Well, it said we got
But I
Is
don't
it-
know. I don't know enough about Zenith to even comment on it. I will say that the theme
I
is kind
would
of
love to do
bothersome.
something.
Seeing somebody running around with Uzis is like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't know,
It's
man.
not literally Uzis. They're like laser gauntlets. But they're
Right.
basically little Uzis.